Right, so I think it is past, everybody, so we're certainly past by that clock up there. So let's say welcome to this meeting of Hampshire Fire and Rescue Authority. Before we start the meeting, can I just confirm that everybody can hear me? I'm looking to you, Jeff, because you've indicated you have problems with hearing. I will ask everybody to pull the microphone in, but I did ask the question earlier this morning about hearing loops, and I'm told that it's automatic here. So it's a question of everybody speaking into the microphone, and you should be able to hear. Fine, and it applies to all of us, of course. Good. Right, so thank you for that. So before we start the meeting, I need to tell you that this meeting is being recorded for broadcast on the authority's website and will be available for repeated viewing. The press and members of the public are also permitted to film and broadcast this meeting. Those remaining at the meeting are consenting to being filmed and recorded, and the possible use of those images and recording for broadcast purposes. A fire alarm test is scheduled for 11:30 today. This will last no longer than 1 minute, and we will remain in the meeting during this time unless advised otherwise. Right, okay. Please also disable your mobile phones if you have one with you. Well, put them to silent, please. Okay, right. You all got the agenda before you. So going to agenda item 1, please. Apologies for absence. Who's taking apologies? Katie, have you? I know we've got apologies from Councillor Simpson, who is on holiday. Sorry, Councillor Price, Roger Price, who's on holiday. We've also got apologies from Councillor Simpson. I wasn't aware of that until this morning, who's gone to another meeting. I'm bound to say that I find that disappointing, but that means that the opposition is not fully represented at this meeting. But nevertheless, that was his decision. So those two apologies are recorded. Item 2, declarations of interest. Well, members, I think you're all fully aware of that. It's set out there in the agenda. So if something comes up during the meeting that you feel is of particular interest, please let me know. Item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. Please turn to page 5. I have an immediate matter arising. Well, in fact, we normally take the pages for accuracy, so I have an inaccuracy on page 5 with attendance at the last meeting, because I do know that Councillor Mintoff and Councillor Fazakerley were present at that meeting on the 20th of February, and their names are not recorded. So can we ensure, Katie, please, that is amended, because I know they were both there. Right, so moving on then, for accuracy, page 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, that's it. So everybody content that is a true record of the meeting that we held on the 20th of February? Agreed? Okay. Are there any matters arising? I'll refer here to the Chief Officer. Any comments? No? Okay. Right. Thank you. So I will sign the minutes. That can go back to Katie. Thank you. Right. So moving on then to item 4, deputations. I'm not aware of any. So we can move swiftly on to item 5, Chairman's announcements. I just have few things to bring to your attention, please. So the first item, broadening the role. Discussions remain ongoing between the NJC unions and FRSs and FRAs around broadening the role. In October 2018, the FBU prepared a statement setting out pay expectations which they continue to work towards delivering, and that is actually 17%. The FBU executive have recommended an LGA offer of a phased 13% pay proposal over 3 years be rejected. We will continue to monitor progress of discussions, and I'll invite Neil Odin to comment further on that.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, you'll recall I provided an update before on the current situation. The National Joint Council is the body which jointly negotiates and agrees on pay for Grey Book employees of the Fire and Rescue Services. So that sort of mechanism has been in place for some time, and I think it's fair to say that at this point it finds itself in a difficult situation. So the employers' side, the members' side of the NJC have made this proposal, so it's not strictly an offer, because it's not been agreed by government, and it's not been agreed by the FBU side of the NJC. Therefore, it's a proposal of the 13% uplift, recognising the broader role that firefighters carry out. And you'll also recall the conversations we've had here about recognising our own firefighters in Hampshire have broadened their role quite substantially and have taken on many pilots across Hampshire which are truly delivering further enhanced life safety to our community. And I'm grateful to my employees and the employees of the Fire Authority for doing so. But the status quo currently exists, in as much as an agreement hasn't been reached. The FBU have issued an indicative ballot to their members to see whether there is support for the executive decision to reject the pay proposal, and then to see whether there is a support to continue negotiating on a broadening the role. I guess there's always a danger that those answers could be yes, we reject it, and no, we don't want further negotiations, which makes life difficult, I think, for us and for many other fire authorities across the country. Certainly the executive is pushing for, this is the FBU executive, is pushing for a yes vote, to say yes, we agree to reject the proposal, and yes, we would like to continue the conversations. There's three partners in this, of course. There's the government, which has, we will need to fund, because our own budget will allow we've forecast, or we've planned for 2.5% growth in pay. So anything near 13% clearly we could not afford. So that would need to be a government funded addition. And clearly government need to make a case to Treasury. So there's an ongoing kind of debate there in terms of how anything is achieved in this journey. We're very much at the beginning of this journey. It's not looking like an easy journey in front of us, and it's perhaps reminiscent of some other challenging issues the country faces. But right now, the standoff on pay continues. I worry about what the future looks like, and we'll continue our conversations in the future about what we might do as a fire authority and a service to try and remedy those things. But they're some way off needing to be actioned now. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Chief Officer. Members, can I have some other announcements, but can I just go back to the beginning of the meeting, something I'm sorry I overlooked, and that is to say welcome to Keith Carruthers, who's joined us this morning. Keith is the Service Liaison Lead for HMI. So, Keith, you're very welcome at our meeting this morning. Right, so going back then to item 5, Chairman's announcements. Progress with the combined, the proposed new combined fire authority with ourselves here in Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. The preparation of the official submission to the Home Office continues. The CFA project team are working closely with the Home Office officials to submit the formal request by the end of April. And you'll see we have on the agenda today, there is for approval the terms of reference for the CFA working group. So that'll come up later this morning. Also, something was brought to my attention just very recently by Councillor Simpson, who unfortunately is not here this morning. This was an article in the Times relating to female firefighters being placed at risk with PPA not designed for them. So we did ask what is the situation here in Hampshire. So, and this is obviously a statement prepared for me to advise you this morning. At HFRS, we procure firefighter PPE through a nationally awarded contract. The fire kit we are purchasing through this contract has been designed for male and female firefighters individually. This provides a range of sizes for all our operational staff. We are currently in the process of rolling this new kit out, with 40% of our staff already wearing the new PPE. We are aiming to complete the process by the end of the calendar year. Our new PPE is individually sized, and firefighters are then fitted with the most appropriately sized kit. So, in spite of what it may have said in the Times, we are progressing that situation here in Hampshire. Now, within that context, I think following on from our recent inspection report, the Chief Officer beside me here had correspondence, or is in correspondence, with Victoria Atkins MP, who is the Minister for Women. So I'll invite him to comment now.
Thank you, Chairman. And what's also of note, before I move on to Victoria Atkins MP, is today, interestingly, the NFCC, National Fire Chiefs Council, has written to the Times complaining about their article, which was misleading and incorrect, in as much as that's never been the case. The things they've reported, they've taken a rather one-sided view of the situation, which I think is often the case right now with this particular subject. Papers love this sort of subject, and sadly they're reporting without cognizance of the facts, or at least a balanced view about the situation. So the same could be said, I guess, of the statement that was made in the House of Parliament by Victoria Atkins MP, and I've written to her to state that her statement was incorrect, albeit misinterpreted from the report issued by the HMI CFRS on the situation within Hampshire, in as much as pointing towards women's facility, and it outlined the fact that in her view, or what she'd read, that Hampshire and Isle of Wight had limited or no facilities for women, which is clearly not the case, and we've pushed back quite hard on that. Subsequently, she's written back and referenced page 31 of the Isle of Wight particularly, but also it's mentioned in Hampshire's as well, which mentions about, in some fire stations, male and female shower cubicles are not segregated. Now that is true because they're shared. Now that does not mean that male and female firefighters shower together, of course. It means they are shared, like they are in all public buildings. They are shared facilities, in which case they're lockable and usable by both genders. So the issue we have is about interpretation of some words used by the HMI CFRS in an intention to reflect to us what they found. But nonetheless, some of those things are perfectly acceptable and normal in public life, and they're not below any standard that you'd expect to see, but they've been interpreted in a way that they seem to be lower than you'd expect. So the reference, I shan't continue, if the authority is happy, I shan't continue to enter into dialogue with the Minister. I think she made her point, and she's raised the issues for women, which is indeed her duty, and we are very, very aware and passionate about making sure that our female firefighting staff and staff across our organisation are well catered for, and all our facilities are matched to their needs. So we are confident that we are very much on that journey. We're confident that what we provide is of good standard, but we continue to listen to our teams. So I think it was just to raise your awareness that we've had that dialogue. I pushed back on the seeming inaccuracies in Parliament, because I thought that was my duty to do so on your behalf. I'll share the correspondence with you, so you have copies of that in case you have come across ministers such as Victoria Atkins. And so we can make sure we can position ourselves in a way that I think is fair and reasonable. So it's not to say we haven't got work to do. I just don't think we're in a position that she described in Parliament, anywhere near that position. So thanks for that.
Thank you, Chief Officer. I think you did tell me earlier that you have invited that minister to visit us here in Hampshire, although you wait to hear from her. Right, thank you. So moving on to, I have no other announcements. So moving on to item 6 then, member development and comments. I have nothing myself to say there. Any of you have anything you wish to advise us of? Sharon, yes.
Thank you, Chairman. Last year, I believe that all of us as members of the Fire Authority were invited to the Vaisakhi celebrations. It's a Sikh festival. I know that this year the Vaisakhi parade in Southampton is on the 14th of April, so a Sunday week. Are we going to be receiving invitations to it as members of the Fire Authority? I know that as a Southampton City Councillor I'll get an invitation, but just wondered.
Right, thank you for that, Sharon. I'll invite the Vice Chairman to just comment on that.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, we are all invited. You should have an invitation coming out to you later on today, ideally, with a link of what the agenda of the day is, but there is an open invitation for members of HFA, RA. Okay.
And just to remind everybody, this is on the 14th of June.
April.
I beg your pardon. No, it's the other event that's in June. 14th of April, yes. Having said the other event, Hampshire, this is perhaps the opportunity to say that Hampshire is hosting the National Asian Fire Conference, which would be at that time in June. It's not the 14th of June, it's the 11th, 12th and 13th of June. And it will be, the 13th of June will be the main day, and I think the conference will probably be in here, in this, is it in this?
Botley Park Hotel.
Oh, it will be, not here, in the Botley Park Hotel. Okay, so that is something to note in your diaries, please, and if you're able to take part in that will be really good. Right. So, moving on to item 7 on your agenda then, please. Please turn to page 11 of your agenda. Appointment of Hampshire Firefighter, appointment to Hampshire Firefighter Pension Board. I think this is a fairly short report. Who's introducing this report? Who am I referring to? Katie. Katie, you dealing with this? Yes, thank you.
Yeah, this is a nice quick report, but we've had a vacancy on the pension board, and we're looking to appoint an employment representative to take the place. So it's just for the authority to approve that replacement.
Right, thank you. And that is going to be Dan Tasker. So you have the recommendation there on page 12. It's recommended the authority appoint to the vacant employer representative position on the Hampshire Firefighters Pension Board. Are you all content with the recommendation? Agree? Thank you. The next item 8, can I just check that you have that as a separate document? You've all got agenda item 8 available, have you? It's not in the, well, it's on ModGov, but it's not in the document pack, but it's a separate document. So I hope you all have that. So this is terms of reference for the Combined Fire Authority Member Working Group, and I'm going to invite Paul Hodgson to present this report to us.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, this might feel a little like déjà vu, but the purpose of the report is just to ask you sitting as the authority to approve and adopt the terms of reference for the CFA member working group, which comprises all of you and the cabinet member from the Isle of Wight with responsibility for fire and rescue. you'll recall that at the last authority meeting, you agreed to establish a working group and to then consider at this meeting the terms of reference that have been developed for that. So the paper attaches those terms of reference and asks for approval for those. That's really all there is to say. Happy to take any questions.
Any questions, members? Approved? All agreed? Thank you. We now move to item 9. Please turn to page 13 on your agenda. Pay policy statement, and I'm referring now to Molly, sitting over there, at the corner there.
Thank you, Chairman. So members will probably be fairly familiar with this pay policy statement. The report at agenda item 9 is outlines our responsibilities under the Localism Act to produce and publish on our website a pay policy statement every year, and that's attached to Appendix A. And the report seeks your approval for publishing that pay policy statement. The pay policy statement doesn't change very much year on year, so it talks you through how we determine pay for our members of staff, and also does some comparisons between chief officers' remuneration and that of our employees. Probably the one thing of interest, particular interest this year, is that we have seen that the ratio between chief officers' pay and the average Green Book member of staff's pay has reduced. And we think that's probably largely because of the new Green Book pay framework that's introduced from this month. But happy to take any questions on anything else within the statement.
Thank you, Molly. Members, this is an annual report that we receive, and I think we're all very familiar with it. But do you have any questions, anything you wish to raise with this report? Okay, all content with that then? So the recommendation is on page 15 that the pay policy statement as set out in Appendix A be approved by Hampshire Fire and Rescue Authority. All agreed? Thank you. We now move to agenda item 10. This is the extraordinary meeting of the Standards Governance Committee that met on the 27th of February to receive the action plan report following the inspection. So I'll refer now to the Chairman of Standards and Governance. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'd like to present the minutes of the meeting that we held on the 27th of February, where we looked at the action plan following on from the inspection report. And actually, I think most of us were there and we've all been through it. But what I would like to do is once again reinforce thanks to the officers for all their work in producing such a detailed and comprehensive report. I am happy to take questions.
Comments, members, questions?
Mr.
Yes.
Chairman, very quickly, I have arranged for a meeting with Andy Bowers, thank you, really to discuss the work of the HMI Inspectorate in terms of the risk strategy. That's still to come, just in case we think we ought to add stuff into that. Okay, so that's a meeting coming up in the next week or two. I'll report on that probably at the next APAC.
Yeah. Yes, Sharon.
Not so much a question, a comment. I felt that this meeting was a very constructive meeting and we had a really good discussion. So thank you, Chairman, for a word.
Yes, thank you, members, for those comments. It was a very constructive meeting, and I think I've emphasised, I don't know how many times, that scrutiny is so important. I mean, we have Standards and Governance Committee because there is a requirement for us to have that committee, but this main board is also a scrutiny committee, if you like, and I'm fully aware that you all take that so seriously. And I'd really like to endorse the comments made by the chairman, because it was a pretty tight timescale, wasn't it? 56 days to produce that action plan. And not only were they producing an action plan for us, they were producing an action plan for the Isle of Wight as well. So I wish that to be recorded, that we really do commend our officers for dealing with that so expeditiously, and we do really have a way forward. We can say there were certain bits of the inspection that perhaps we didn't like, but there we are. That's in the past, and now we really are. I really have the feeling, and I hope you agree with me, that we're really moving forward, and it just gives us a real opportunity to sort of, make things better, and I'm sure you'll all agree.
Things can only get better, Chair.
Yes. So, okay. So, Councillor Fair has presented the minutes, so you're all content to accept those as a true record? Agreed. Thank you. Right, so now we move to item 11, which is exclusion of the press and public. I will read this. We're now closing the meeting to the public as the following reports are of a confidential nature, and there is a requirement not to disclose information in the following reports. Information discussed particularly in relation to external parties is of a sensitive nature. Discussions, negotiation, proprietary information of business affairs, plans, intentions, and or technical information, designs, or trade secrets. Are you all content that we exclude the public? So we've agreed that. So, right, well, there we are, members. I think we've, unless anybody's got any other burning issue they need to raise, I think we can say, conclude the meeting, and thank you all for your attendance. Thank you. And well done to the temporary member of the opposition, or temporary lead member of the opposition.